Hi Yellow Laners, welcome back to the Yellow Lane YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to be looking at the pattern for the front panel of the bag that you're seeing on the screen. So I'm going to be teaching you how the front panel was made. You can see that it is a little different from the regular. So we're going to be drafting this on a cardboard paper. The measurements we're going to be using for this is as displayed on the screen. So first I'm going to be marking out the wideness of the bag, which is 10 inches. So this is going to be 10 inches wide, that's the front panel, and you're going to mark this on 2 points so that when you connect the 2 points together, you're going to have a perfectly straight line. Once you're done marking out the line for your width, you're going to take the height of the bag, and here we are using 7 inches for the height of this. So these measurements that we are using in this case, they are solely my own generated measurements. You can have whatever measurements you like for your bag, but in the case of this bag, just note that your width has to be the dimensions for your width has to be much more than your height. So you can make it to be a 3 inches difference. That means if your width is 13 inches, your height could be 10 inches or thereabouts. So I'm going to fold these into two. That's on the wide side. Just fold the wide parts into two so that whatever we have on the left, we can also have on the right without having to draft the pattern twice. So I'm taking 2 inches inwards from the side and I'm taking ½ inch from the bottom. So the main reason why I'm taking this ½ inch is if you look at the bag that we're trying to replicate, you can see that it is raised at the bottom. Where it is curved, it is raised at the bottom, so I'm going to take the ½ inch to be the raising we have at the bottom. So the 2 inches, I also make sure that it drops down. That is where the bottom of the bag is going to start touching the the ground or the floor. So you're going to take 1.5 inches for the slant at the top. You can see that the bag here is not straight to the top, it is slanted. It is like the width at the top is lesser than the width at the bottom, so you have to slant it. That's why I took 1.5 inches at the top. Then for the bottom part, I took a curved object, right? So I'm using the gum, the contact adhesive that I'm going to be using for this. I used it to curve it, and I used the ½ inch line that I drew as the base for that curve. I didn't allow the curve to get to the bottom, so I'm using my hand here, free hand, to curve the to make the curve to meet with the 2 inches that I marked at the bottom. So looking at the slant that I made from the top of the bag, it didn't look like it was really as slanted as the bag in the image was, so I decided to add an extra ½ inch to it and then make it meet the curved side. But when I wanted to cut, I decided to cut the safer option first, which is the first one I drafted, the 1.5 inch slant. I decided to cut that out first so that if it doesn't look like what I have in the image, then I can go ahead to cut the 0.5 inch that I added. So basically just cut the the curved parts you made and then the slanted line, and this is what you're going to have. So this looked good to me. I just needed to make some trims around the curved part of the bottom side so that this is good. Next, I'm going to take the shape at the middle. So I'm going in by 2.5 inches from the top. So 2.5 inches from the top, I'm marking it at 2 points so that I can have a straight line. So after measuring how deep the cutting is going to be, I'm also going to measure how wide that cutting at the middle is also going to be. So here I'm going to be using 1.75. Okay, so I'll mark that from the folded side. From the part where I folded, that's where I'm going to measure 1.75 inches from. So once I have that marked, I'm going to draft a slanted line towards the 0.5 inch measurement I took earlier. So that means from the side, I have 0.5 inch inwards that I slanted downwards towards the part. So I opened it up to see if what I have is if it looks like what I need. Then I went ahead to cut it out. So this is what we have now. You can see that it looks much like the shape we have on the bag exactly, just that the folded side in the middle is not there. So I'm going to take where I want that lapping, that's that pleat where I wanted to get to at the bottom, and I marked, that is, I marked 2 inches from the bottom. That's where I want the to end, that folding that you can see at the bottom. So once I mark that, then I'm going to take 1.25 inches from this side. So this is not a fixed measurement. I just looked at it that, okay, how, how, where do I want the pleats to get to? So I just marked, okay, let it be at this 1.25 inch. So for your own bag, especially if you're using a different measurement, you may have a different measurement for this. Just look at the bag and look at, okay, I think this is where this slant should go. This pleats, this is where you should get to, and then you're going to mark that point. And that's what I'm doing here. So basically marking how the slant, how that pleat looks. So once you have the line for the pleats, you're going to slit it the way I'm doing. So to the point where you marked, you're just going to slit it open like that. So we're going to do something that fashion designers call slash and spread. So it's a dart manipulation, whatever that they use for their fabric. So it's called slash and spread, and that's what we're going to do here. So we've slashed it, and then now we are going to spread it the way you're seeing me do in this video. So before we do that, I'm going to retain the shape we have at the bottom, because nothing happens to that bottom side. So from that marked line, you're just going to trace it out on your new pattern paper. Okay, so once you have that up to where the line gets to, now the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to open up, you're going to spread that part, the side that you've slashed. So that particular part, you just want to open it wide so that you have enough space in the middle of the line, the slanted line. So I'm making sure that that slanted line, that straight line on the main pattern is exactly where it stopped on the new pattern. So I'm retaining that, and then from there I've opened up the part that I slashed. Okay, and then I'm going to draw it out like that. Then I'm going to return the pattern to its main shape, to its original shape. I'm still following that line. Okay, I marked the straight line on the new pattern, so I'm still following that straight line. So that middle part, I'm just going to make sure that it is maintained. You can see that now we have some extra in the middle parts of the slashed line, that's pleated line. So that's extra that we have is what we are going to use to form that pleat on the front panel of the bag that we're trying to replicate. So you can see I'm opening it wide, and I'm still trying to make sure that I maintain that straight line that I have marked on the new pattern so that it doesn't shift. So you can open this as wide as possible, just depends on how how full you want your pleat to be, let me put it that way. So that determines how well you open your slash up. Okay, so you can open it to be very wide so that you have enough to pleat at that point. So once you have this new pattern, so this is going to be your new pattern. I think what I have in between the splitted lines is about 1 inch. So I'm using around 1 inch here. I didn't really measure it, but you can also take the measurement if you want, so that you can go by measurement. So you just cut it as a part of the pattern. That new allowance that you added to the pattern, you're going to cut it to follow the shape of the pattern, and then you're going to cut out following the lines that you need. That's the tracing line that we made from the first pattern. So once you're done trimming it out, that means you now have the lines that you made from the original pattern. You're going to bring the 2 lines, that's the lines from your slash, you're going to bring the 2 lines to kiss each other, to come together. So whatever you do, just make the two lines to come together. So you will have excess fabric on the other end, that's on the wrong side. So that excess fabric is what is going to cause these pleats that you have on the main bag. So you bring the two lines to meet each other like this. And then at the other end, that's at the wrong side, the pleats, the excess fabric is going to slip on one side. So just make sure that you bring the two lines to meet each other so that you form your initial pattern. So this excess fabric that you have underneath, that's what is going to form this effect that you have on the main bag. So you can see what it looks like, but because this is paper, right, it is laying flat, the effect is not really coming out. But if you're doing this on leather, then you're going to really see the effect. Okay, so the more excess the more you add while you doing your spread, the more spread you have, it determines the pleats that you're going to have, like how deep your pleat is going to be and how full, this pleat that you have on the main bag is going to be. So this is how to go about the pattern. So whatever excess you have that is not aligning with the pattern, you can trim that off. You can also take the original pattern itself to trim off whatever it is that is not aligning with the original pattern. So by the time you bring the two lines to meet each other and they kiss and form that pleat, you want to ensure that what you have back is your original pattern. So before you put your original pattern on it, ensure that if you're using leather, ensure that you have glued or you have stitched down the pleat, right? You have stitched down, you've secured the pleat. Then whatever excess you have, you can use your original pattern to trim that out. So that is how to go about it. If you have been looking at this bag, how was the front panel made that the leather was not joined? How did they cut it? This is how to go about the patterning for the bag. If you're looking to learn how to make handbags, with leather, looking to learn how to pattern bags, how to arrive at patterns for bags on your own without needing tutorials like this, the registration for our handbag construction class is currently ongoing. As you're going to learn how to make prototypes, patterns, and real bags that you can stitch with your sewing machine.